On the allegation that I moved files around to intentionally delete emails to hide evidence, this is false. I needed to change my laptop because the battery on my current one was failing. When transferring files from my old computer to my new one, files were corrupted and emails were lost. I personally reported this to my team to attempt recovery of the emails. I believe CBSA still has these laptops and files in their possession. Everyone knows emails do not solely reside on a particular computer or laptop. They are delivered through servers where they are usually backed up. In the case of CBSA, the servers in question are under control of another department, Shared Services Canada. More importantly, all recipients, senders, and people on CC would still have copies of their emails with me and could have produced them as required. Neither I nor anyone else can delete other individuals' copies of emails. The loss of emails from my laptop would not result in them no longer existing anywhere else. As a member of the executive team at CBSA at the time, I accept responsibility for the institutional and public service accountability for what occurs within the organization and learn from the findings and recommendations when policies and programs are not proceeded with according to the rules in place, as was highlighted in the OAG and OPO reports. At the same time, when I delegate a task to be completed by those under my authority, particularly to individuals at senior executive EX3 levels, I should reasonably be able to expect that they will do so in accordance with all applicable standards, laws, and regulations, that they will flag to me things that require my attention. This is core to how delegation works. In this case, it appears my trust was misplaced. In hindsight, knowing what I know now, I should have asked more questions and challenged more of those reporting to me. For those failures, I take full responsibility. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Doan. We'll start with Mr. Barrett for 6 minutes, please.
Mr. Doan, you're the Chief Technology Officer of Canada. How long have you been working with computers and IT?
Over 25 years.
And you have training in computer science?
I do.
Do you have an accreditation?
I have a bachelor's degree in computer science.
Would you describe yourself as an IT expert?
I would.
You know how to code, secure data, program. You understand how computer networks work or operate?
I haven't coded in quite a while, but I do.
So there are investigations now ongoing about the missing emails, deleted emails. And I just want to make sure I understand correctly from your opening statement. Your contention is that because you switched the battery out in your laptop, thousands of records were deleted. I am not a computer expert, but I've switched out batteries a couple of times, and I've never heard of that happening. Would you say that that's quite common?
Let
me clarify. I did not change the battery of my computer. I needed to change the computer as a whole. I was not merely changing the battery of my computer.
To change the whole computer, and in the imaging process, someone wiped your computer? I just don't understand. This is not something that I've heard of. Usually, there's quite robust processes. The IT staff here at the House of Commons, for example, in my experience with IT working with Department of National Defence, I've never heard of anything like this, and it's just it seems incredible to believe that that's the story that you'd have us accept today. But it's incredibly convenient for you that these documents are missing. So how is it that you're both the victim of something that's exceedingly rare, but also the beneficiary of something that's exceedingly helpful for you?
Thank you for the question. Corrupt, what the technical term is corrupt PSTs. Corrupt PSTs are actually not exceedingly rare, fairly common. It's actually so common that Microsoft put a tool in every Windows computer to fix them. In terms of what you say, it is absolutely correct. You get a new computer, it is imaged, but in transferring, no different than if you were to get a home computer on a new home computer, you would want to transfer files from your old one to your new one. So in that transfer, that is where the corruption occurred. So it was fairly standard. You transfer files over and there was a corruption. That's what occurred.
So as Chief Technology Officer of Canada, the practices that are in place currently now see quite commonly that when government employees swap out their hardware, that thousands of files go missing, and you know, with that being your contention, isn't that being, you know, the state of play, your accepted standard, doesn't that compromise your ability to abide by federal law and information retention policies?
So when this occurred, I was not the Chief Technology Officer of the Government of Canada. I was the CIO of CBSA. And in terms of the question that I failed to answer earlier, you asked, is it convenient for me? I don't know how having my files corrupted would be convenient to me in any way at all. So in terms of your other question, how often does it occur and is it a common occurrence? I think corrupted files is a common occurrence. How often does it occur when different government employees change laptops or computers and that occurs? I could not speak to that.
A minute and a half. The destruction of emails and other documents, of course, are relevant to the information requests as it relates to allegations about your involvement in the $60 million Arrive scam and involvement with GC Strategies. Of course, the destruction would be to your benefit if you were attempting to cover up your activities, attempting to camouflage things that you had done. We've seen in the past, you know, prevarications by you at committee, and we found that the main contractor, the favored contractor, also lied before committee. The Information Commissioner of Canada is investigating you destroying these documents and evidence. Have you been interviewed as part of that investigation?
No, personne m'a contacté de ce.
No, no one has contacted me from that office. To come back to what I said at the beginning, the fact that there was corruption of files are no longer on my computer, it doesn't mean that those emails don't exist any longer. All those emails exist in email boxes of all those who received emails from me. It's the same for any of you members.
Dozens, if not hundreds of other people's computers. It makes the investigation exceedingly difficult when the agency you were with at the time has now been noted to have of the worst record keeping that's been seen in the history of the federal government. It's, again, far too convenient and simply not believable what you're offering, sir.
I'm afraid that is our time. With Mr. Brock for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Dewan, you'll agree with me that long before Mr. Macdonald, Mr. Utano stated emphatically that you had lied to committee not once but numerous times, you in fact were friends with Cameron Macdonald. Isn't that correct?
I would consider him a very close colleague that I got along with.
Yes. I'm looking at a text exchange from October the 24th, 2022, between yourself and Cameron Macdonald, where you're joking around, talking about your upcoming appearance at committee. This was your first appearance. You were joking around saying, my first line at committee next week, Tina made me do it. My second line, Cameron Macdonald, Mac, not Mick, Mr. Speaker, did everything behind my back. You were joking. Mr. Macdonald knew you were joking. Mr. Macdonald said, yes, this entire thing is brutal. And then you stated something very interestingly. You said, I quote, my issue isn't talking. I'm rather good at running my mouth. Now, I take that to mean I'm pretty good at telling tall tales. And I would suggest very strongly that's precisely what you have done on the last 2 committee appearances, and that's what you're starting to do right now. You are very good at telling lies, Mr. Duen. Furthermore, you continue, and Mr. Macdonald says in response, "Ha ha, oh, I wasn't worried." You then said, "My issue is what I want to say versus what I can say. Can't throw PHAC, public health, under the bus. Can't throw ministers under the bus. It's hard to explain the complexity and cost of this thing without doing that." So, several questions, Mr. Duen, starting with PHAC. Who at PHAC are you trying to protect?
Thank you for the question. I'm not, first of all, I do not recall those exchanges. I'm not questioning them. I don't recall exchanges I sent 2 years ago. I send hundreds of texts a day. But in terms of protecting anybody, there is nobody to protect. In terms of the question of throwing people under the bus, the PHAC were the business owners. They defined the requirements. I think it was well stated here. There are, I believe, to memory, over 80 OICs. Those were not CVSA OICs. We had to react. We were working around the clock to meet the requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Duen. I only have 5 minutes. I'm reclaiming my time. To your point that you don't recall, these text messages are probably still on your phone, unless, of course, they mysteriously got deleted as well. Okay, so I encourage you to review your phone messages from just over a year and a half ago. Can't throw ministers under the bus. We already know about the difficulties you had with Minister Mendicino, who wanted someone's head on a platter, and you threatening Mr. Macdonald to throw him under the bus. Are you still protecting Minister Mendicino?
Thank you for the question. Those are allegations and not facts, and they're allegations
Are
from
you
an
still
individual.
Mr. Duen? Very straightforward question. Are you still protecting Minister Mendicino, now known as MP Marco Mendicino? Yes or no?
No, I have no reason to protect him.
Then why would you say that emphatically in a text message? Why would you give the illusion that you want to say more, but you can't?
No.
You swore to tell the truth. You affirmed to tell the truth, not only today, but on your last appearance. You can't have it both ways. You can't just give us some of the evidence and hold back relevant details. Your affirmation is to give us the straight goods, Mr. Duen. No one forced you to write these text messages. This came from you. So what is it you really wanted to say, but you felt compelled that you couldn't? Who are you protecting, and what are you hiding, Mr. Duen? Is the relevant question. What are you hiding?
Mr. Chair, I'm trying to answer the member's question.
What are you hiding?
You have about 10 seconds.
I have nothing to hide. I have nobody to protect. It was a very stressful and difficult time, and we were responding to the pandemic and the needs of FAC and others.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead, Mr. Genuis, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. So Mr. Doan, I'm trying to put together the picture here. In the context of the Arrive scam story, one big issue is missing records. The Auditor General has identified this as a key issue, records that should be there that aren't there that would help us understand what happened in this whole fiasco. The fact that the records don't exist or can't be found means that they either were never created or they were at some point destroyed. Now, you are one of the figures involved in discussion of the Arrive Can issue, and in the midst of this, we see very significant and detailed allegations around your files disappearing. And if I understand your testimony today, your files encountered some kind of a technical problem, and then you undertook a kind of a do-it-yourself on your computer. And you explain this do-it-yourself procedure you undertook because the IT folks are very busy. Now, you're a senior public servant. I would think that you're very busy as well. It would seem odd to me if a CEO at a big company said that he's just going to schedule his own meetings because his secretary and scheduler are very busy. Nonetheless, you undertook a DIY on your own computer outside of protocol, and in the process, something went wrong, and files disappeared. And at the same time, we have a problem of missing records that make it harder for us to understand what happened with the whole Arrive scam issue. Is my description broadly correct in terms of your testimony, or have I missed something?
In terms of, I didn't attempt to fix anything. So I had identified to me that my battery was about to go, and I needed on my current work laptop at the time. Et avant de tout perdre, donc si la batterie.
Before losing everything, I needed to get a new laptop. So when I did the transfer, as you say, the DIY.
Kind of a Control-C and a Control-V. So it was copy one file.
Okay, Mr. Doan, I know you've been trained on how to testify at committees, and I don't want you to run my whole time. I did ask a fairly clear question, I think. You had testified earlier, and you're testifying now, that you undertook work that would normally be done by designated IT professionals. Instead of calling in the designated IT team, you went and did it yourself. Is that correct? I mean, that's essentially what you said earlier.
Yes, I copied a file into the network and copied it onto my new computer.
Okay. In the process of doing that, files were accidentally damaged, and that has led to a situation in which it's hard to find these records. According to this IT employee who spoke to the Globe and Mail, the fact that you didn't engage the proper IT professionals for this is extremely unusual. It's outside of the proper protocol. You contacted an individual IT employee directly at one point instead of going through the proper process. I mean, how are we to find you credible, sir? And I want to give you the benefit of the doubt here, but how are we to find your testimony credible that, given how central missing records is to this whole story, that you, one of the central figures in this story, undertook to go outside the normal protocol to manipulate things on your computer on your own, and in the process, files were corrupted and disappeared? Like how are we to believe credibly that you were just trying to save the folks in IT some time as a senior manager, and something just happened to go wrong?
At the beginning of 2023, the OAG report was not out. You mentioned missing records. Missing records was not a discussion or a point at that time. So to imply that I would have done anything specific for missing records, I didn't. In terms of the IT person,
sir, that timeline has no relevance at all. I'm almost out of time. Why did you undertake this do-it-yourself on your computer? What is the real reason why you didn't use the proper protocol?
I'm afraid
because I was
Sorry, Mr. Doan, I have to interrupt here because we are out of time, but perhaps Mr. Genuis can get back to that at his next intervention. I'm going to go to Mr. Barrett for 5 minutes.
I want to follow up on Mr. Bain's question. Chair, does the committee agree to send for the recovery request referred to by Mr. Doan? Yeah, okay. Great. So, Mr. Doan, I want to be clear about the job that you're in now, the Chief Technology Officer of Canada. Did you get that position through a competitive process, yes or no?
No, it was a lateral.
It was a lateral move.
When you're looking for a promotion, you have to compete for it. A lateral move, there's no competition because I'm not changing levels.
So when you went to the Treasury Board, it was a lateral move?
I was an EX5 at CBSA when I left, so that is a level of executive. And when I moved to the Treasury Board, I stayed an EX5. I didn't move levels. I did not change levels.
I don't understand, because when you came before committee in October of last year, my colleague, Ms. Kuzi, asked you this very question. She referred to it as a substantive process. But in response, you said, and I quote, "I was in the middle of a competitive process."
Merci beaucoup.
So I mean, we've heard your answer today, and we've heard your answer then. Your answer has changed. I know the answer is that it was not a competitive process, because we have that testimony from that TBS already, from the Treasury Board Secretariat. It's very interesting. Who were your references for that change in jobs? Just the name of who your references were, please.
So Catherine Lilo, who was the Government of Canada CIO at the time, made me the offer. Who she consulted and who she asked, I do not know.
Job.
I would presume it would have been my deputy minister at the time.
And who was?
At the time, it was when I moved over, Ms. Erin O'Gorman, and the one she probably would have talked to my previous deputy minister as well, which was John Osowski.
And so this job wasn't publicly advertised?
It was not, to my knowledge, publicly advertised.
Okay. You took issue previously with testimony from Mr. Cameron Macdonald that during a phone call that you had threatened him. Do you remember refuting that you had threatened him?
I do remember that allegation.
Remember saying that you hadn't threatened him?
He was in a different department. He wasn't even working for me anymore. I was calling him.
So yes or no, did you threaten him or did you not threaten him?
No, I did not threaten him.
We know that you have previously been fined for threatening a fellow public servant. Is that correct?
That is incorrect.
It is incorrect?
That is incorrect.
So have you ever had any allegations of you making threats against another individual?
I have a personal matter that was brought to my attention, and a family matter that I did not disclose, but I had never threatened another individual, another public servant.
Okay. Did that matter come before the courts?
No, it did not.
In the reporting process with respect to Mr. Macdonald, did Ted Gallivan ever speak to you about the threats against Mr. Macdonald?
Merci pour la question. La première fois.
Thanks for the question. The first time I heard about those allegations of threat is when Mr. Macdonald came to this committee in the fall of 2023. That's the first time I heard about that.
Chair, I'll just ask for a little bit of extra time because the witness is switching back and forth, and so it's taking translation extra time. Well, I'm not sure if he's doing it for my benefit or for his, but it's...
You're burning up your own time, but why don't we continue?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks very much, Julie. Appreciate the attempt at help there. Multiple times at the committee, we've heard you give answers that aren't clear, sir. Looking to you both use up time and to be unclear in what it is that you're trying to say. We've seen the text messages that you were concerned about throwing a minister under the bus, and you and Cameron Macdonald, getting your stories straight. Why was that your priority instead of just simply telling the truth to parliamentarians who were asking you questions?
Very brief answer.
I don't remember trying to get my story straight. I was actually calling Mr. Macdonald for facts that we do not have, and frankly, to this day, the investigation is ongoing, which is who brought GC Strategies into the CBSA. So I was not trying to get his story straight. Nobody at CBSA at the time can answer the question. He was closest to it. He was the DG in charge of reporting to me, and I called him for more information. He cordially, after this alleged threat...
Gentlemen, go ahead, Mr. Brock.
Thank you, Chair. Going back to text messages, Mr. Duen, from October of 2022, I'm rather good at running my mouth. My issue is what I want to say versus what I can say. I have to stay in my lane. In my opening round with you, sir, I opined what a literal interpretation would be, what I believe most Canadians would take from that text exchange. I will give you a little bit of latitude, sir, to explain yourself. Specifically, I would like an explanation as what you want to say versus what you can say. What did you mean by that, sir, in your text exchange with Mr. Macdonald?
Thank you for the question. I don't remember that text exchange again, and I wonder why Mr. Macdonald would still have that text with him after leaving the agency. So, having said that,
If I could stop, with respect, the issue is not whether you recall it. The issue is why you would ask why Mr. Macdonald would retain it. That wasn't the question. These are your text messages. It is a snapshot in time. One would have thought these are pressing issues that would still be germane on your mind. I appreciate you have health issues, but clearly you have a lawyer, so you prepared for this meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct Canadians if they're wrong. The interpretation is you cannot be honest with this committee because you're being held back from telling us the truth. So let me help you. Who was directing you not to give committee the full truth and nothing but the truth? You being the vice president at the time, would it have been Mr. Osowski or Miss O'Gorman?
Nobody was directing me to not be truthful. And in terms of saying what I want to say, sometimes, and as I want to do here, I stick to the facts. I don't conjecture. I don't give opinion. I'm not here to give opinions. So the question there, and these are alleged texts, I must say. I don't have these texts. These are alleged from the same individual.
Let me stop you right there. Don't go there. Don't suggest for 1 minute these are fabricated text messages. By doing so, sir, you are now impugning the integrity and the character of the source of this information. If you got an issue with this, my suggestion is you go back to your phone and you scroll back to your communications with Mr. Macdonald, or furthermore, if that is gone, talk to your service provider, because service providers retain up to 10 years worth of text messages. So with respect, don't go there. Don't use the word alleged. These are your words, and I've given you the opportunity to explain yourself. I'll ask one further time. Why did you say you could not give us the full goods?
I did not say I could not give you full goods. And with respect, Mr. Chair, the same individual has taken very strong liberties of impugning my reputation and going as far as saying I faked a heart attack. So my apologies if I do take offense to allegations, because there have been many allegations made against me.
Mr. Duen, I'm moving on. You got counsel with you. You've indicated you're not under any investigation. You've indicated you're not under internal investigation. You're not under police investigation. Why do you have a lawyer with you?
I believe everybody is allowed counsel. I believe other witnesses that have appeared here have counsel as well. And given the harm that's already been done to my reputation, both here and on social media, I think it is wise for me.
Thank you. Is the CBSA currently paying for your legal fees?
Yes, they are.
How much have you submitted so far?
I'm not done, so I have not submitted anything.
You've submitted no bills?
I've submitted bills for previous attendance, but not for this one.
And how much has your legal counsel billed for his or her services in assisting you? Just the number, please.
The last one was $5,000.
$5,000?
Approximately. I can get the specific number and invoice.
For a 2-hour appearance, okay? And what about the first invoice?
It would be approximately less than $5,000. I can get that invoice as well.
Maybe $4,000? Will you provide both?
That was-
Will you provide both invoices to committee?
I certainly can.
Will you
but
provide
whatever.
the current invoice to committee as well? That what he or she is charging you for today's appearance?
I can provide that information.
That is our time. Mr. Genuis, please.
Thank you, Chair. My colleague, Mr. Brock, and others have spoken about a series of text messages between Mr. Dwan and Mr. Macdonald. These are two central figures in this issue, and Mr. Doan seems to be sort of disputing the potential veracity of these text messages. I wonder, Mr. Doan, if you would be willing to share with the committee all of your text messages with Mr. Macdonald. I think that would be quite revealing and help us to probably identify other key facts of what has gone on. Would you be able to provide that to the committee?
I'll go through my phones and work with shared services and treasury board to see what I can recover. Yes.
That was a bit of an imprecise answer. Will you provide the text messages, and are the text messages available, or have they been corrupted through file transfer and DIYs on your phone as well?
No, there was no corruption, but when you change departments, when you take your phone with you, that the common practice is the new department wipes your phone and configures it for the new department.
Okay, well, I think it might be simpler if the committee just agreed to send for those text messages from you, as well as from Mr. Macdonald, as well as from the government and the service provider. So we're essentially soliciting that information from everyone who has them. Is there any objection from the committee to that?
We set a date. From when? Starting when?
Well,
August 20.
Compared to what else we've asked for, I don't think all of the text messages between these two individuals would be too exhaustive, and I suspect it would be useful information.
Right. What I'm asking for is from what date? August 1990, August 2021.
Well, when did people start using cell phones? Sure, 1990.
No, you know what I mean. Like starting January 2020, starting the beginning of the pandemic.
Well, okay, from 2018 until present.
Sure. You fine with that, everyone? Yep. Perfect. So be it.
In terms of these text messages, you said my issue, according to these messages, my issue is what I want to say versus what I can say. Can't throw FAC under the bus, can't throw ministers under the bus. Is there information that you would have said that you can't say that would be that would cast ministers in a negative light? Because we've been told that ministers haven't been involved in these discussions at all, and yet you seem to imply in these text messages that you know something about ministers that they wouldn't want shared at committee.
No, there isn't.
There isn't. So would you have said something like that, or implied that there was something in a conversation with Mr. Macdonald?
Ben, je crois que je l'ai répondu tantôt.
I think I answered that when I was answering another question. If the question is why there were so many changes, why does it cost as much, is because we were meeting the needs of other departments.
Question. That's not the question. The question is about ministers. We have text messages, between Mr. Cameron and you that say you can't throw ministers under the bus, and your issue is what you want to say versus what you can say. That would imply that you would like to say something that would cast ministers in a negative light, and you feel that you can't say it. But you're telling us now that you would have nothing to say regarding ministers one way or the other. So which is it? Were ministers involved or not? And if they weren't, what are we to make of these text messages?
Ministers were not involved, and I can't throw people under the bus. It goes against my integrity and my approach. I didn't throw Mr. Macdonald under the bus last time I was at committee under oath for 2.5 hours.
But sir, you're just not answering the question. And
I am answering the question.
No, witnesses have to answer the question. That's how this works here. You said my issue is what I want to say versus what I can say. What I want to say versus what I can say. So what is it that you want to say that you can't say to this committee, sir?
I can only imagine what I wanted to say. So I could say I was very
Fire away.
frustrated. I was very tired. I was working 7 days a week. I was frustrated that after what I thought was something that met the needs at the time was now being questioned, my integrity and the cost and how we went about it. That's what I wanted to say. We were working around the clock. We
but you're still not answering the question. What you want to say regarding FAC and ministers? What is it that you want to say regarding FAC and ministers?
Can you reread this text to me that I would have written?
Chair, if we can stop the clock.
We'll have to wait for the next round for that, because we're at our timer. Mr. Brock for 5. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Chair. Some loose ends, Mr. Dewen. The issue regarding your legal fees, has that been paid by CBSA?
Yes, it has.
I didn't hear that. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Now, earlier today, sir, you referenced some affidavits, and I think you were referencing affidavits pertaining to both Cameron Macdonald and Antonio Utano. Is that correct?
Oui, c'est correct.
Yes.
You specifically raised those affidavits because you claim, at least your evidence today was, that there was evidence in those affidavits to suggest that it wasn't you who selected GC strategies, but rather either Mr. Macdonald or Mr. Utano. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Do you have those affidavits before you, sir, in that room?
I have excerpts of it. I obtained it through my legal counsel.
Okay. On the record, can you specifically identify what paragraph that relates to any evidence to suggest that it was Mr. Macdonald or Mr. Utano who selected GC strategies? Just the paragraph, please.
Paragraph 12 from Mr. Utano's affidavit. I was involved in exploring options to be presented.
I don't need you to read it out, sir. Sir, I don't need you to read it out. Just paragraph 12 for Mr. Utano. Is that correct?
15. Paragraph 15 from Mr. Utano speaks to Deloitte.
15. Okay. Is there any other paragraph that speaks to that?
As well as paragraph 14 and 15 from Mr. Macdonald's affidavit.
Okay. And I'm going to be asking you, sir, to forward the full affidavits to this committee, and we'll specify what sort of time frame. You'll have no problem doing that?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to the allegations regarding deleted emails. I understand that the complaint from a whistleblower, the IT whistleblower, submitted that complaint to Michael Lafleur, the CBSA's Executive Director of Professional Integrity. Is that your understanding, sir?
That's what I read in the Globe and Mail.
And that was sent in December of 2023. Has Mr. Lafleur spoken to you?
Yes, he has.
Okay. In relation to that complaint?
Yes, he has.
Have you received a copy of that complaint?
I have not.
Have you requested a copy of that complaint and it has not been received?
I have not requested a copy.
And why not?
Because I know the allegations are false.
That makes zero sense. You're under investigation. A complaint is levied against you with very serious, damning facts that you willfully, intentionally deleted relevant emails in relation to the selection of GC strategies. And your evidence is, I know it to be false, but I didn't even bother to ask for the misconduct report. That is incapable of belief, sir.
I would refer you to the CBSA then.
Sorry?
I would refer you to the CBSA and I'll make the request for it.
That is mind-boggling, sir. That truly is. Do you understand the content of the allegations, sir? Let me help you with that.
I would like to remind the chair that I would like to remind
sir, it's my time. Sir, it is my time. The complaint says as follows, that you approached this IT employee directly without going around proper protocol for requesting technical support. You said that some files were lost when you attempted to move files between your laptop and the network drive in preparation for a new computer. what Mr. Dwan was telling me or saying made no sense. I've never heard of a VP or an individual who receives VIP treatment in regards to IT-related tasks taking it upon themselves to move files or organize information in the way he suggested. The complainant said Mr. Dwan said he was acting on the advice of CBSA's IT team, but this employee expressed skepticism. Who on the team gave you that advice? Identify names, please.
I can find the name.
Is it one name or is it several names?
The initial person I identified that my battery would have be giving up soon or would have an issue, I could identify that name. And perhaps one of the reasons I didn't ask for anything is I've been on medical leave for the past 6 months, and on a doctor's advice I'm supposed to avoid stress would be probably a reason why I've not wanted to engage any further on an investigation about myself.
But you'll supply the committee with a name?
I will supply the committee
Or
with a name.
names? Thank you.
Thank you very much.